I mean, if you're looking for something to read, specifically a thriller, a damn good thriller at that, a damn good dark thriller, this is the video for you. Hey guys, what is up and welcome back. Welcome to a list video, a video in which I have a list of books for you, a list of recommendations, a list of my favorite thriller books. Now, it's really hard. Was it really hard? I feel like I've been reading thrillers for so long that I should have a big list of favorites, but truthfully, I don't have a ton. So it wasn't super hard to dwindle this list down. However, I did not put them in order from best to worst because none of them are worst. They're all best, okay? They're all best. These are my favorite thrillers, mine, and I'm giving them to you guys. If you have similar taste in books as me and you're needing some more books to pick up, babe, here you go. Here you go. For the most part, I would say that my taste in thrillers is kind of specific. I do stray here and there and find some random domestic thriller that I latch onto or some random fast-paced action thriller that I grab onto. For the most part, my taste in thrillers consist of dark, gritty, kind of gruesome, if you will. I really like crime thrillers. So in a thriller where a crime has taken place, sometimes there might be a detective type character, sometimes there might be a serial killer lurking around, you never know. I prefer that over like messy baby mama drama, my husband cheated on me and I'm gonna find out kind of drama. Sometimes those work for me. I think I might have one or two in here, but for the most part, these are all bangers. I'm gonna show them to you. We're gonna talk about them. So Beth, shut up and let's talk about them. We're gonna dive into the one book that I do not have a physical copy of, so I don't forget it, okay? And that is Drowning by T.J. Newman. I have read another book by this author titled Falling. It didn't make the list, however, I'm throwing it out there because it was still a good book. I think Drowning was a little better. Could it be because I read Drowning first? I think Drowning just really did it to me because it was, this is probably the book that had my anxiety up the highest. Okay, I was like literally on the edge of my seat while I was reading this book because it is that thrilling. So in this book, we have this plane. It's loaded up with passengers. They're getting ready to take off. They take off. Minutes after taking off, they crash into the Pacific Ocean. I believe they go down about 200-ish feet and they're in the Pacific. Yeah, they're down there. Because when the plane first crashed, it landed on top of the water at first. Some of the passengers got out of the plane. They're like, it's smart. Let's get out of the plane. We don't want to be trapped, you know, inside, whatever. But our main character, he is an engineer of sorts. I'm so glad he happened to be our main character. And he was like, nah, we need to stay in this plane. It is safer to stay in this plane. There's a lot of fuel in the water. There's fires going. It's safer to stay in the plane. Anyway, long story short, we have our main character, Will Kent, and his 11-year-old daughter are two of the remaining passengers in this plane. Now, this plane has formed like a bubble of oxygen on the inside, so time is ticking. And remember I said he's an engineer of sorts. So this man literally like figured out the math with how many people were in the plane, the cubic feet, whatever, to determine how many hours they have of oxygen left. And that was such, I don't want to say it's like such a fun part at the back, but it was. It kind of gave that, have you ever seen the movie Speed with Sandra Bullock, Keanu Reeves? Yeah, it kind of gave that. There's like a timer going, people are dying. It's like, who's gonna rescue them? How are they gonna like get out of this plane? There's an 11-year-old girl on here. She has asthma, which also ups the ante. It is very fast paced. These guys are very fast paced. Who's gonna save these people? Well, Will's wife, of course, estranged wife. I don't think they're divorced, but I think they're on the verge of getting a divorce. They are separated, right? So Will is on this plane with his 11-year-old daughter because so they live in Hawaii, but she's gonna go to some sort of camp on the mainland of America. I don't know. It's hard to explain because Hawaii is also America, but like, you know what I mean. You get it? Okay. So that's why they like are on the plane, because he's taking her to this camp. His wife, though, works for like underwater welding of submarines or something along those lines. And so she is like gonna help them figure out how to save her husband and her daughter. And they're gonna let her help because I'm telling you what, as I am talking about this book, I really want to reread it. And my brain is like tricking me and is like, Beth, go watch this movie. It wasn't even a movie, but it felt like I watched a movie. That is how good this book was. So if you like super, super fast-paced, high-intensity, action-packed thrillers, you're gonna have to suspend your disbelief a little bit. But I feel like you have to suspend your disbelief with most thrillers. Like, let's be real. You're gonna love this one. You're gonna love it. Trust me. Up next, we have... This is one of my favorite like automatic buy authors. I will say not every single book is 5 stars, but every single book for me is entertaining enough to read it, if that makes sense. This one is my favorite. I don't think it's her most popular thriller. I do think it's probably her darkest thriller. There's also some things in here that really scratch an itch for me, so that played a big role. This was also one of the very first audiobooks that I ever listened to, and I feel like the audiobook also did a good job with the particular aspect in this story. If you know, you know. If you don't know, it's His and Hers by Alice Feeney. I actually was in such a bad reading slump when I picked this book up. I don't think I had read a book in like 2.5 months. That's how bad it was. A lot of the times when I pick up a book and the book is able to successfully get me out of a reading slump, I tend to not forget about that book. That book tends to linger a lot. It may even become an all-time favorite, if you will. I don't know if that's why this book is my favorite out of all of Alice Feeney's books. I don't know if it's because this was my very first Alice Feeney book to read. I don't know if it's because there's a particular element of this book that I really like. This book was also, I feel like, is one of her most like grittiest thrillers. Anyway, let's get down to business. What is this book about? So this book takes place in a town called Blackdown, and a woman has been brutally murdered. So we have one of our main characters named Amy Andrews, I believe is her name. Anna Andrews, and she is a BBC news anchor. I believe she's trying to like save, if I remember correctly, I think I read this in like 2021. It's been a minute. But I believe she's trying to like save her job. She was on leave or something. Somebody came in and I think they're trying to like permanently replace her. So she's sent on this thing. She's gonna know it best because this is actually her hometown. It's where her parents live. It's where she grew up, yada, yada, yada. Then we also have Detective Chief Inspector Jack Harper. And he is suspicious of Anna's involvement in this case. He knows she knew the victim, but he hasn't told anyone that he knew her too. See, the thing is they're ex-husband and wife. They're both kind of involved in this whole mess of a mess, essentially. So we have both of their perspectives, but that's not all. We have a third mysterious perspective that we have no idea whose perspective this person is, and you have to read the book to find out. Okay. So let's see. If you enjoy a fast-paced thriller, I would say this is pretty fast-paced. It was fast enough to get me out of my reading slump, let me just tell you. If you enjoy a fast-paced, twisty thriller, if you enjoy an unreliable narrator, shifting perspectives. We also have morally complex characters, if you will. I would also say there were some scenes in here that I can vividly recall. I won't tell you what they are, but they're pretty dark. Also, we have some red herrings in here, so if you enjoy that, you're gonna love this. Anyway, this is such a good book. I think you should pick it up. If you have read a few of Alice Feeney, I feel like with Alice Feeney, a lot of her books, so she has like a locked room mystery. She has one that is a isolated winter setting. I feel like her books have such different vibes going book to book to book to book. If you've read one of her books and you gave up on her, don't give up on her. Try another one. Try this one. All right, up next we have, oh, this one is a classic. This one, it's so good if you have not watched the movie yet, because there is a movie adaptation to this one. I hadn't watched the movie when I read this, and then I watched the movie after. And if you have watched the movie already, I will say the book and the movie are different enough. I think you would still enjoy reading the book, especially the ending is a lot darker in the book than it is in the movie. And if you think the movie's already dark, bitch, you have something coming, because the book is even darker. But I'm going with Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. Also, Miss Gillian Flynn, if you're watching this, sister, we need another one. Okay, I've read all of her books. She has 3 full-length novels. They're all 5 stars in my book. I liked all 3 of them. I could recommend you all 3 of them. And then she also has a novella, which I also enjoyed. Gone Girl, I think, is my favorite out of the 3 full-length novels. They all give gritty, dark, disturbing vibes. All of them, all 3 of them. I would mention all 3 of them in this list. I'm throwing out all 3 of them. They're all 3 fantastic. But this is probably my favorite of the 3. This is obviously the more popular of the 3. What is this book about? Let me tell you. So in this book we have a couple, Amy and Nick, and I believe it is their 5th wedding anniversary when Amy goes missing. I believe a neighbor calls it in or something that she left her front door open. The cat or something got out. It's very suspicious. They call the cops. They get there. Her purse and stuff's still there. It just looks very, very suspicious, very messy, and all eyes are pointed at Nick. Everybody is against Nick. So then we have kind of altering perspectives here. You do get the perspective of the present day, which is Nick's perspective, and then you get the perspective of the past, which is Amy's journal or diary. You're getting the present day of her going missing, what's happening, the clues that they're finding, the interviewing him, what he did, this, that, and the other. And then you're also getting how they fell in love, how they met, how their marriage was, how they were when they were dating. Like, you're getting all of that through her journal and diary entry, or journal, or I don't know. I don't remember if it was a journal or a diary, but it's potato, tomato. You know what I mean? That's all that I'm going to tell you. If you have not seen the movie or read this book, dive into the book first, because I feel like this is one of the best twists out there. All right, up next, we have another favorite author of mine in the thriller world, and that is Jennifer Hillier. Now, I'm going to throw out really quick Jar of Hearts. I'm not talking about that one in this video, but I'm just going to throw that one out there as well. It's a good one. But the one that really stands out to me by this author is called The Butcher. This was my very first Jennifer Hillier book. Again, I don't know if that plays a role in the fact that this is also my favorite Jennifer Hillier book. However, it is. Now, the synopsis I'm about to tell you might sound like I'm spoiling the book for you, but I'm not, okay? You literally learn this information in chapter 1. It is not a spoiler. I feel like when I talk about this book, I get comments always about why did I just spoil the book for people. I'm not spoiling it. It's literally in the synopsis and in chapter 1. Okay, are you ready? All right, let's buckle up and talk about The Butcher by Jennifer Hillier. In the prologue, it starts out in like 1980 something when this prolific serial killer in Seattle known as The Butcher, he gets caught by the chief of police. It's not until years later when this chief of police is rather old, retired, and he's moving from his home into like a nursing home. When the truth comes out that actually the butcher was never caught, because it was in fact the chief of police that was the one going around butchering people. So the actual serial killer caught the the chief of police was the actual serial killer. Okay, that's not a spoiler. It's not a spoiler. You literally learned it in the prologue, okay? Because the story itself, we're in the perspective of his grandson. His grandson is getting his house. He like has this really old Victorian-esque type house. He's passing it on to his grandson as he's moving. I want to say he's like in his 80s. He's moving out of this house, moving into a nursing home. And that's when things start they're coming to light. You know what I'm saying? Things are being found, specifically buried in the backyard. Not bodies, but evidence. Okay, trophies, if you will. So you're getting the grandson's perspective, but you're also getting his girlfriend's perspective as well. And she is like a true crime writer. She was inspired to become a true crime writer because she knows damn well that her mother was a victim of the butcher. With that, she like dove headfirst into the true crime world, and one of her missions in life is to fully catch her mother's killer, and she knows it's the butcher. The thing is nobody believes her because her mother was killed 2 years after the butcher was caught. So she's, you know, been trying to, okay, it's a web of stuff, but let me tell you what, it's so good. Again, a little dark, a little gritty. If you are into like serial killer type stories, which I love that in a thriller, here you go. All right, up next, this is actually a series, and it's a 6-book series to begin with, okay? We're just gonna go over, first off, this author is my favorite thriller author of all time. I could mention all of her books on this list, but I won't. I actually have an entire video of all of Karen Slaughter's books. I'll link it down below if you're interested. If you really love dark, I'm talking descriptive, disturbing, dark, you're gonna love Miss Karen Slaughter. And I'm gonna talk about her Grant County series, starting off with Blindsided. Again, this was my very first Karen Slaughter book that I read. Actually, before this book, I think I had only read 2 other thrillers. Lock and Key, Key and Lock. What is that Ruth Ware book? Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware was my very first thriller. And then I read a Riley Sager, the one, Lock Every Door. No, the house one. Home Before Dark. Those are like my very 2 first thrillers that I read. And Verity. I read Verity too. But this was the one that sucked me in. This was the one that turned me into a thriller reader. I don't even know where I got the recommendation for this book, because prior to me reading this book, I hadn't seen a single other person read Karen Slaughter besides Pretty Girls. I don't know how I picked this book, where I got like whatever, anyway, but I did, and I'm so glad I did, because I became 1, addicted to Karen Slaughter, and 2, addicted to thrillers. Okay, so this is a series. It is a 6-book series. It's called the Grant County series because it takes place in this small town in Georgia. We're following 3 perspectives in this book. The first perspective being my all-time favorite perspective, Sarah Linton. And she is the child doctor, the pediatrician, if you will, use big words. And also she does part-time, like, what is it called? She's a part-time coroner in this town, because it's such a small town that like a lot of people have multiple jobs. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so that's our main character. The story opens up, Sarah is going to meet her sister to have lunch, and so at this little cafe place, she goes into the bathroom and discovers a body in the bathroom of a woman who has been brutally murdered. She's not dead yet. So Sarah is a doctor, and so she tries to save her, but she doesn't actually succeed at that, sadly. Come to find out, this is not the first victim, and nor it's going to be the last, of a serial killer. That's where the story kind of like takes off. Now we do have 2 other perspectives. We have Chief of Police Jeffrey Tolliver. Of course he's going to be involved because he is in fact the chief of police of this small town, but also he is Sarah's ex-husband. I'm not going to say this is a romance series because it's not. It's very dark. It's not a romance. However, in the background, second chance romance, if you will, so we have him. You do get his perspective throughout there. And you also get another perspective of a woman named Lena, albeit she's not my favorite perspective, but I feel like not every character is going to be likable, especially in a thriller. You know what I'm saying? And Lena is just his deputy or his whatever. You get it. She's just another cop. And yeah. There is some scenes in here, 1 that are very descriptive. Did I mention that already? But 2, I was literally on the edge of my seat while I was reading it. Okay, I was literally on the edge of my seat. I did not know what was gonna happen. I could not put the book down. I was flying. I've reread this book multiple times because this is one of my all-time favorite books. Still, every time it gets me. It gets me every time, and I feel like that, if you could reread a thriller and still enjoy it, that really says a lot about the book. But Blindsided, aka the Grant County series, aka this is a prequel to the Will Trent series. So if you want to dive into the Will Trent series as a Karen Slaughter professional, I think you need to pick this series up first. Just trust me, you're gonna want to pick this series up first, because in the Will Trent series, you will notice a lot of these characters in that series. It's just gonna make more sense if you read this series first. Trust and believe, okay? Okay, this next book is very domestic, but let me tell you what, the twist, oh, it made this book 100%, but also this book had me fuming. Like, if I could dive into a book, I would dive into this book to beat the shit out of a character. Or two. That is The Last Mrs Parish by Liv Constantine. We have this woman named Amber. She's kind of broke, she's kind of ugly, not really. You know, like, you're not really ugly, you just broke. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's her. She doesn't have the life that she's always wanted, the luxurious lifestyle with money and a man. She wants that socialite status. So you know what she does? She finds a target. And her target, Daphne Parish. And she's finna take her life. Not like, but like, she gonna take our man, then take our money, then take our house. She gonna take her life, okay? That's her goal. So Amber does this. She starts off with scheming. First, she gets close to Daphne, becomes her friend, then meets Daphne's friends, gets in her little inner circle, yada. But you know what? Amber ain't the only one with secrets, babe. Anyway, it's so good. It makes me want to reread it now that I'm talking to you, because it has been a hot minute since I've read this book. It's been a hot minute. It's so good. This next book is a pretty popular one. If you think of the name Karen Slaughter, this is probably the book that you're going to think of first, and that is Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter. Let me tell you what, if you go into this book and you're like, it is so slow, nothing's happening. What do you mean this is, you know, a good thriller? Like, nothing's happening, nothing's thrilling. You have to give it time. It has to marinate. Karen Slaughter is a character first author. Okay, character forward. She's going to let you know about these characters. You're going to have fantastic character development. This has like a sister dynamic in there, and you're going to really get to know these two sisters before you really get into the dark shit. And when I tell you, shit gets dark, real dark. Most of these books, if you need to look up triggers, babe, look up triggers, because most of these are pretty dark. This is probably the darkest. Okay, there's a lot of these books are dark, so just know that. Anyway, let's dive into what this book is about. So more than 20 years ago, Claire and Lydia's sister went missing. Well, I believe she was a freshman in college, and Claire and Lydia were younger than her, so they were still like in grade school and such. There's construction outside. Sorry if you can hear it. Yeah. And Kaiser thinks he's gonna go bite that cement truck's ass. Anyway, the tragedy of the sisters' disappearance really pulled this family apart, made these sisters really distant. Claire became the trophy wife. Her and her husband are very successful, have a big old house, gated, password to get in, money, nice car. Sorry about that. And then you have Lydia, who is a single mom, driving the struggle bus. Completely different lives, you know what I'm saying? The very beginning of this book, Claire's husband is brutally murdered. Claire is having to cope with this by herself until Lydia shows up, because it's her sister. Though they may live two separate lives, they don't get along, she's gonna show up for her sister. She shows up. And there's a little tension here and there, whatever, like they haven't really, you know what I mean? Like, there's gonna be, whatever. They have to put that aside because shit starts coming up. And Claire is discovering shit about her husband and about all kind. It gets dark. I would say real fast, but not real fast. You have to like really get through the book. But the last quarter of this book, I'm telling you what, some stomach turning dark shit goes down. When I tell you it is dark, this is darker than a lot of horror books that I have read. Karen Slaughter studies autopsies. She goes to these places and watches them to learn how to write graphic scenes. Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. It's pretty dark. Okay. Okay. And then we have Confessions by Kanae Minoto. This book is so good. So good. When I started reading this book the first time I picked this book up, I read, I think, like the first chapter, got into the second chapter, and I was confused as fuck. And I was fixing to DNF this book. I didn't know what the heck was going on. I'm gonna tell you this. I believe it says it on the back. Narrated and alternating voices. That is the key to enjoying this, to like not being confused as fuck. I want to say there's only like 6 chapters. The chapters are pretty long. Yes, there's 6 chapters. Each chapter is told in a different person's perspective. They're not repeated either. So you get like the first chapter is in one person's perspective, the next chapter is in this kid's perspective, the next chapter is in this other person's perspective. Each chapter ends on such a cliffhanger, like a jaw unhinged type of cliffhanger. So I will give you just like a very little bit. So we have our main character. Well, it all revolves around our we're gonna just call her the main character. She is a middle school teacher. She recently called off her engagement, and so now it's just her and her daughter. I want to say her daughter's 4. And one day, her 4-year-old daughter is killed on campus at this school. The teacher knows who it is. It's somebody in her classroom that did it. That's not a spoiler, because she gathers all of her students up in this little circle here, and she lets them know that she knows who did it, and she is seeking revenge. And then you just kind of get to see it all unfold. It's so good. And it's not even thick. It's not even long. This would be a perfect book if you're needing something to get you through. How many pages is this? It's like 220 pages. My kids are at school. Today's their first day of school, and I keep hearing shit in my house. I'm telling you what. I can't yeah. You're just gonna have to trust me and dive into this one. Oh, it's so good. Okay, the next book is None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. This particular author is very hit or miss for me, but when she hits, okay? Either her books are a 2-star or a 5-star. But this one, my friends, oh, okay. So we have 2 people, Alex and Josie, I think is their names. Alex and Josie. Alex is headed out to this like up and coming bistro. Is it a bistro pizza place? I don't know. At this hot new local pub. She's going there for her 45th birthday. As she's in the bathroom, she stumbles upon this woman named Josie, who is also celebrating her 45th birthday. That is right, they're birthday twins. Okay? Alex is a podcast host of this really popular podcast, though the season that she is doing is coming to an end. So the next day or two, I don't remember if it was the next day or a couple of days later, she bumps into Josie outside of her children's school, and Josie brings up the idea of like using her as the subject for like her next season in this podcast thing, and she promises Alex that she has like some juicy stuff to talk about for this podcast. And yeah, I think that's all that I'm gonna say. Just know that Josie may not be telling the truth about some stuff. I mean, obviously you could tell in the title of this, Hang On My Battery's Finna Die. Let me just tell you this. The shit that was going on at Josie's house, as I was reading it, I was just like, I believe I was reading those chapters the entire time, like, some of these I pick up, and as I'm talking to you, I want to reread it. I want to reread it because I've read, I know a lot of people don't really reread thrillers, but to me, it's kind of like I can turn on Criminal Minds, and though I know who the killer is with every episode, I can still sit there and binge watch a whole season. That's how reading thrillers is for me. If I read it the first time and I really loved it, I can read it again. It's like rewatching a favorite movie. Okay, I don't care if I already know who the killer is. When I read a romance, I already know these two are gonna fall in love, but I'm still gonna read it. Okay, and some of this stuff is just diabolical. Anyway, this is a good one. Okay, this next one is also a series. It's actually just a trilogy. The first one is called The Fourth Monkey by J.D. Barker. This is another crime series in the sense that we have another main character that is a detective investigator, I think. A detective. I was right. in the town of Chicago for the past few years, they have had this notorious serial killer going around known as the Fourth Monkey. And the reason why he is titled the Fourth Monkey is because this killer will go and kidnap someone that is not a bad person, okay? And it is not his target. He's actually targeting somebody else that is connected to the someone. And what he does is he kidnaps someone. And the first thing he does is cut out, I think it's their eyeballs first, puts it in a bag, ships it to the actual target and says, turn yourself in or the ears are next. And then he'll cut the ears off, ship it to them in the mail, turn yourself in. So all of his targets are technically like bad guys or whatever, but he's a serial killer, obviously, so he's a bad guy too. Our main character is Sam Porter. Sam has been on leave because his wife was killed, and so he took leave for that, as one would and should. But he gets a phone call and they're like, yo, we know you've been working on this case for so long now, we got him. And he's like, what do you mean you got him? He's like, well, he was hit by a city bus on his way to drop a package off in the mailbox. And he's like, well, how do you know it's really him? One, he has the package on him, but two, he has a journal. And we get to read that journal. It's kind of like dispersed throughout the book. You also get the perspective of Claire, who his current victim is. So you're thinking like, okay, we got a whole book, but he's caught at the very beginning of the book. Why do we have a whole book? Because he has this girl named Claire. He kidnapped her and he's going to mail off her eyeballs or whatever it is. And he dies. They gotta figure where Claire's at. But you get to see Detective Porter read these diary entries of the serial killer from when he was a child. And let me tell you what, they're dark. Okay, and you get to see why he becomes a serial killer, his life, how he was treated, how his parents were. It's very dark and it's not funny. It's very dark and it's very disturbing. You get to see a lot of stuff. If you like crime thrillers, this is a good one. This is a good one. If you've read like the Grant County series by Karen Slaughter and you like that whole thing, you're gonna like this too. This is a good series. Obviously all of these books are good. All of these books are good, but this one's good. And that's it. Those are the books. Those are my favorite thrillers. The ones that when you ask me like, hey, what are some of your favorite thrillers? Those are the first ones that pop into my head. A lot of the times I don't recommend these books out to people who are just now starting in the thriller genre because again, most of the books that I just talked about are very graphic, pretty dark, quite disturbing, okay? If you want like a thrillers for beginners, let me know. Or if you want any other type of thriller video, let me know. Girl, my kids are in school now. Today is first day of school. Both of my kids are gone in school. Kindergarten and first grade. Oh! So we got some quiet time. Some time to film. Time to do the stuff. So let me know. I feel like I have time now. It sounds so silly, but it is what it is. I hope you enjoyed this video. And that is it. That is that. Bye.